Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards. With me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you very much for making us a part of your day. Say hello to the folks, Zeke.
Hello. Thanks for tuning in once again. Always a pleasure to hopefully provide some entertainment, insight, or just help you get through the day.
We're always big on the entertainment side of things. At least that's what we're told. But we are recording. It is Father's Day weekend. We are in the midst. Admittedly, we're recording this on Friday night. This is how Zeke and I like to spend our Friday nights, just together at his house with some microphones.
Well, and also admittedly, we had hoped to do a 19th hole version of a show, but apparently the Dad's Drinking Bourbon Father's Day golf outing got 86 this year, so we'll try and shoot for that next year.
I know. I bought the portable recorder. I was going to take it out on the course. We were going to have outtakes and all sorts of things. Like I was getting my Peter Faraday impression ready so I could describe you taking a shot.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Nice, proper voice, slow speaking. Zeke hits the ball. Cussing.
And somebody in the back going, "Baba boy!"
I was thinking along the lines of 4.
But we are in the midst. By this time next week, somebody will have won our Father's Day kind of gift giving day of dads drinking bourbon on Instagram. And I just want to take a second and thank you all the people that were involved in that. So our friends at Spirit Sense, our friends at Supreme Whiskey Stones, our friends at Barrel Down South, and of course, Zach over at the Whiskey Smiths. Thank you guys for contributing to that. Zeke, thank you for contributing some samples to that. I'll be contributing some samples. We'll be giving out a glass. So whoever won, we don't know who it is yet, but whoever won, thank you for playing. And thank you for spreading Dad's Drinking Bourbon on Instagram. And we hope you enjoy.
And on the note of samples from a few shows back, as soon as John gets me that pick leg, I've got my 2 done, and John runs the randomizer as well. I'm not that smart.
Well, by the time this comes out, we will have picked because I'm going to bring it over for Sunday. So we are recording again. For those of you, it is summer. We do have some things going on. So we're going to record a lot this weekend. We are taking advantage of Father's Day weekend and trying to record some extra shows so that we could fill in for vacation and all that other fun stuff. So expect some more episodes that came from this weekend that we are going to try to make untimely. So they are not time specific. All of you have sent us some really good samples, and we thank you for that. We have some from our friend Eric Black, some from our friend Sam Clark. We have some from our friend Ryan Peasley. He sent us some. So there are some great samples we have from some people that we are going to taste. Eric Black actually sent us a blind. So we're hoping to kind of do that in a quick hitter 19th hole episode, not necessarily from the golf course, but just some extra drinks that we'll release as a bonus episode sometime. So Eric, thank you for sending us those. But we have a lot on the docket for tonight, and we want to get to them all. So Zeke has been for a long time. I will let you kind of describe this, but you had Cooper's Craft, which is a Brown-Forman release, and just a little bit of background on this. They released it a couple years ago, more as a cocktail drink, not necessarily a stand-alone drink. I think they were expecting that to be a little bit more of a mixer. I mean, it's 82.2 proof. It's not the highest proof thing that Brown-Forman has, but it is out of a toasted wood barrel, and it got your mind going, right?
Backfill that a little bit. I was home probably a month or so ago now. A buddy of mine brought it. I honestly never had it before. Ended up having several pours off of his bottle throughout the evening, especially as the bottle of Kentucky Spirit I had seemed to disappear. And I don't know. It's one of those things you have randomly. You've already had a few pours. You never know how accurate the palate may or may not be. But, you think to yourself, this isn't amazing, but I mean, it damn sure doesn't taste bad. And so after that, the mind kind of wandered, and I hit John up. I'm like, all right, what else is toasted? I know there's Michters. What else is out there?
Not to interrupt you, because I want to let you finish. just like Kanye let Taylor finish. Some of my favorite things are the phone call when your mind's racing. You call me and you go, "Hey, what goes with this? Like what else is out there that is like this?" So we probably talked about this one for a good 2-3 days though, because we kept racking our brain, and there's only one thing we could really think of, right?
That's all I could really find other than Woodford Double Oaked. I think the second time that it gets the oak for the double, they put it in a toasted barrel instead of a fully charred one. Unfortunately, John polished off his bottle before I had this
Well, my father-in-law
epiphany.
helped.
Well, either way, it got wiped out. Neither of us wanted to pony up behind another one at this point in time.
Our money's tied up in Whistle Pig right now.
Yeah, so
what's the one that you decided we decided that we should put up against the Cooper's Craft?
I did have about half of a Michter's Toasted that's been hanging out for a little bit. I think I actually got this from John some ages ago. If nothing else, we decided that'd be a pretty good back and forth. Seeing as one of these is less than $30 a bottle, and the Michter's Toasted, I mean, where is it now? Secondary, 175, 150 or more?
It's at least 160. So
it's up there.
Retail,
it's not cheap.
No, not cheap at all. Retail on it was $50. It's probably up in the 160s, at least 150 right now. And that's because it's not being made anymore. So they released it in 14, 15, 16. It has not been released again. You guys have seen the Toasted Barrel Rye that came out last year. We did review that back when we were doing more video content. But the Toasted Bourbon or the Toasted Barrel Finish Bourbon has not come out in a few years. So that stuff is, I think I have one bottle that's not open in the bunker somewhere, but that is some stuff that is not easily attainable. So I think the cool thing with this is that we can almost take, like we try to do, like when we put up, Old Rip versus an OWA pick, or we put up Stag Junior versus Stag. It's almost like, can we find a value play with this one, right?
Indeed, and that's always one of our top objectives is to, find things where especially folks will see stuff on secondary and they may or may not have had it. Get to, thinking late night, itching, wondering, scratching. We try to minimize how many itches you scratch and hopefully leave a little more money in the wallet when you wake up.
I don't think this one will be pound for pound equal. There might be a difference in taste. I mean, going in, I have a little bit of a bias that I would like the Toasted better. It's always good that we talk about bias before we go in, because then we taste it blind and then we see if that's true or if it's been disproven. It's almost like we do the scientific method every week on this show. We have a hypothesis, we test the hypothesis, we see if that hypothesis stays true. I would think that the Toasted Barrel would be a little better, but then I have to look at it. I mean, if it's straight retail and it's $30, $50, my hypothesis is that I'm going to like Toasted Barrel more, and if I found it retail, I get it. But once you get up into that 160 range, you really have to think about, like, is it worth it, or am I going to get close enough with the Cooper's Craft?
Well, I think it just depends on if, somebody's going to photograph or, take a picture of what you're pouring or have in your hand, because, you're going to be seen with the Michter's Toasted, not the other one, John. It just makes you look better.
I'm going to be seen with whatever's better for my wallet lately. We've been doing this too long that I can't afford to, do something for show.
Laughably as well, there is some more Brown-Forman to come this show. We didn't necessarily mean to be Brown-Forman heavy, but sometimes that's just how it works out. And then this is actually a twofold blind tasting episode. I don't think we've done that before. So there'll be two breaks, two tastings.
Well, let's just do one break and then taste a lot, and then we can come back and talk about everything. I mean, the tape deck breaks if we try to fast forward twice in an episode.
Man, we got to get a little more. What is it? 48 at the speed on the old school spinners.
I don't know, but we're stuck in 1999. We need to come forward to well, actually not 99. We're stuck in 1994. We need to come into 2018.
The second half is the Whiskey Row stuff. There's 3 releases. There's the 1870, the 1897, and the 1920. They do range in proof a little bit. One gets up there in the nice higher range for folks that are into that. There's a bottled in bond for folks that are into that, and there's one that is just what they call original.
Yeah, original batch.
So they really touch on every aspect of the progression of bourbon. I would say, as far as, yes, people got into high proofs at some point. Yes, there were folks that still get bottled in bond heavy, just for what it stands for and means, and that kind of throwback. And then there's just, hey, this is where we started, and then as best we can tell, that this is a good replication of that. So pretty interesting if you look at it in a timepiece perspective.
These vary in price slightly. They vary in proof slightly. The mash bill's the same. We'll talk about that in the tail of the tape. We threw out, for those of you that would come back and say, okay, Statesman is in the Whiskey Row Series 2. We threw out Statesman because it is just so banana that we feel like we would be able to pick that out easily in a blind, and it wouldn't necessarily make much sense. Thought about throwing in an Old Forester single barrel, but we just, we've talked about that before. We didn't think it would be, we thought 5 is enough for a night, right?
I would have loved to have Early Times in here as well, obviously.
But we know which one would have won for you, so.
Well, in the blind, I could have missed something. I've been on a cold streak here lately.
I know, you do like that Elmer T. Lee. That is one of my favorite things, that everybody still brings up the Elmer T. Lee to you.
Every dog has its day, and then sometimes they don't.
And I'm thinking of giving one of my samples in the giveaway. I'm thinking of the Elmer T. Lee from the bottle that you love.
Good. I'll use the bottle I had that's from the Cork Taint batch. And then people will be like, man, this Elmer T is awful.
So they could blind.
That thing really is bad. Surprising how bad it is.
So that being said, let's go ahead and take our break now. We'll come back. Well, this is a very whiskey-heavy show this week. Not a lot of banter.
Public service announcement. If you see Big Level in stores, pass. That's all we're going to say. Just pass. Walk away. We firmly believe you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. So just pass on that and keep $50 in your pocket.
Is that 50?
It's around there. It's not overly expensive, but you'll be awfully mad at yourself if you spend it.
Can I ask you some questions that are not necessarily saying anything bad? Just the aspect of it that you don't love. Nose, taste, or finish.
D.
Okay. That being said, do what you do. Fast forward that tape.
I do have one nice thing to say about it, though.
You don't want to fast forward this tape, do you?
I just want to finish on a nice note.
Okay, what's your nice note?
It doesn't taste as bad as last year's version.
Okay. That's good to know. And it does have a pretty picture of the bottle. We know how much you love marketing.
Oh, whatever. This your forte, buds.
Zeke is all about marketing, presentation.
Oh, whatever.
That's Zeke's favorite thing, is to think about, like, what did the distillery do to present this bottle to the masses?
This is what keeps you up late at night, not me. And now you're prolonging the fast forward.
All right, do what you do. Go ahead and fast forward that tape.
We'll be back shortly. Hopefully these five samples don't kill us.
All right, and we are back. In the break, we had 5 different whiskeys. 2 of them were toasted barrels. We had the Cooper's Craft 82.2 proof, 41.1 ABV toasted wood whiskey. The age is not age stated, but a Brown-Forman spokesperson said it should be about 4 to 6 years. The MSRP is $29. The mash bill is undisclosed, but it's slightly different than Old Forester, and we know Old Forester is 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% malted barley, so it's a little bit different than that. We also know that this whiskey uses a special beech and birch charcoal filter finishing process. So this is charcoal filtered, which we know is the Lincoln County method, which typically happens in a Tennessee whiskey. Interesting about that finish, that there's some charcoal component to that as well. The next one we tasted here was the Michter's Toasted Barrel Bourbon, 91.4 proof, 45.7% ABV. It was released in October of 2014 first. We know it ran till 2016. It has not come out since. It is a white oak barrel toasted over an open flame of its own wood for 60 minutes, then aged 26 days in that barrel. The MSRP is $50. The mash bill is a big question mark, and the age is non-age stated.
So does toasted over a flame of its own wood really make a difference?
I don't know.
I mean, I really, in my own, I guess, possible ignorance, would always assume it's just the heat from the fire that makes the difference, and then where the wood, crisp up, or however you want to describe it, chars. Toast.
That's a great question.
I just can't imagine whatever wood is generating the fire really imparts that much of a flavor difference. Maybe, I don't know.
All I know is that we didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning.
Man, John, we got to update your iTunes.
Okay.
Apparently, all these podcast recordings are taking up too much space, and John hasn't been able to get anything new in some time.
I'm really, I'll listen to talk radio, and then I listen to Kids Place Live all the time. So I listen to newer music, but it's all sung by kids.
I'm baffled.
You've never listened to the Kids Place channel yet?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's on Sirius. It's all kids singing popular songs.
And you drop Sirius, you can have an extra bottle a month.
And Sirius is only $10 a month. It's not doing that much.
Hey, there's stuff out there.
Yeah, so I could have an extra Evan Williams bottled in bond every month.
I will say very randomly, and I will tee this up for a show later. I had Evan Williams 100 proof. It's like a solid white label.
Yeah.
At the Whiskey House earlier. It was not bad by any means.
No, I mean, we did that whole thing. We did the bottle and bond showdown.
I don't think this was bottled and bond.
Oh,
I didn't see it on the label. I mean, it could have been, but we had it. Honestly, I feel like most people say something to make a great old fashioned. It's in a negative connotation. This thing had some really sweet cherry notes in the front end. Like I laughably said, this would be great in an old fashioned. I don't mean it because it's junk.
Well, we can't go off too much because then Ryan Lay gets mad at us and says that we meander. We can't meander, Ryan Lay. We love you. So let's get in here. You give me your guesses for the Cooper's Craft and the Michter's Toasted. I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. Then I will give you my guesses. You'll tell me if I'm right or wrong, and then we'll talk about tasting notes since we know apples to apples.
Sounds good. I thought number left was Cooper's and number right was Michter's.
And he's back, folks. Zeke is back on the winning train. Congratulations. I thought the left was Cooper's and the right was Toasted.
Which one had the logo on the glass?
I don't know which one had the logo on the glass. Why didn't you just say which was left or which was right?
Because I wrote down a logo. Taste that one.
That's the combined.
I always go by glass. You know this, man.
No, just write down left to right what they are. We always do order of left to right.
Well, I still have all mine.
Yeah, but I thought we were going to record another show, so I was...
You really got this theme of botching stuff up going strong tonight.
How did I botch this one up?
Well, there's the botch coming later.
Well, there's a botch coming later for the Old Forester, but...
Man, John, screw the pooch Edwards right here tonight, folks.
So you didn't... I didn't screw the pooch. You didn't write down which one was left or right?
All right, so you had 5 glasses. 2 of them had no logos. So the 2 with no logos, I put one in one blind and one in the other so that they couldn't get mixed up. And then I wrote down what the logos were on the other ones to know what was what. Or that was my plan until I ran into a roadblock.
Why are you overcomplicating? There's 2 lines. There's left to right on the first line and left to right on the second line.
I didn't know where you were going to put them.
I always keep them in order. I don't move them out of the order. Okay, so if anybody is listening that makes tasting boards, I think we just need 2 tasting boards that fit 5 Glencairns each. I think that is what we need to do at this point because this is not working.
I've got mine where they started.
Yeah, but I was trying to clean up a little bit.
Well, there's the first time
I think
for everything.
I think the left had the logo on it.
Okay, you're right then.
Okay. I'm pretty...
The one that had the B on it was the Cooper's. The one with no logo was the Michter's.
Okay, then I got it right. Anyways, spoiler alert, I messed up the whole Old Forester thing. We'll talk about that.
We'll save that for another laugh.
So let's talk about this Cooper's for a second. The nose for me, I got sweet candy bubblegum with a caramel candy in there as well. I mean, it was the slightest hint of bubblegum. It wasn't overpowering. There was another pick that we were trying a little bit earlier tonight that was much more bubblegum. But I got the slightest hint of bubblegum. I mean, just a general sweetness to it on the nose. The taste for me, the way I was able to really discern these is that the Cooper's was thin. It still had oak. The oak is definitely present. That sweet candy is present. But there was a little bit of a thinness to it. The finish was not impressive, but not disappointing. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but it's kind of like a side hug to me. It wasn't a full hug. It was just a side hug. I think the Cooper's, to me, I really enjoy it. I would probably enjoy it more in 90 to 100 proof or something a little bit higher. But for 25 to 29 bucks, it doesn't kill me at that price, right? I think it's priced right. It's got a nice oakiness to it. If you can't find the Michter's Toasted for 160, and I know I'm kind of going into whether or not we buy it, but I don't think it's a bad alternative. It just didn't weigh up to the Michter's Toasted for me.
No, I was surprised, honestly, to see that it was 82.8 proof. It doesn't jump at you or bite you or however you want to look at it, but it's not muted or mundane by any means, which I feel like at that low of a proof, most things really just get faint nose, faint palate, a flash of like, oh, wow, what might have been. But
it's kind of like the Four Roses Yellow Label to me. It doesn't taste, it's smooth, it's thin, but it's not, and I don't want thin to be a negative connotation when I said that. It's just, you can tell that the proof isn't there.
Yeah, and I would just say to me, the relationship to that, not so much palate by any means, but for, 80 proof roughly on both, which the Yellow Label is 80, but you get flavor at a very low proof, which is enjoyable. I mean, it's noticeable and it's there, and it's not bad by any means. My notes for the Cooper's, I thought it smelled like light cooked sugars. I put flash fired or fried marshmallow. I don't know, in my mind, I think like, flash frying something. And I don't think you can take a marshmallow and, make s'mores or put it over the fire and get this effect, because it's literally just like a super burst of heat just hit that thing, got it almost towards dark brown, but then immediately just went away. There was none of its own like internal cooking, and some of it gets too hot, burns, etc. I don't know. Maybe I played around with marshmallows and fires too much when I was a kid. Beyond that, same theme, bananas Foster right after the flame hits it. Not the alcohol smell, but just that fresh cookingness. I don't know. And to some degree, almost a creme brulee. We had that at my work today for some reason. Somebody put a bunch of fresh bananas on the top of it. So that could definitely be way, in my opinion, here. But that's definitely something that popped up in my mind for nose.
It's funny. I don't want to take you off of this, but I wanted to say creme brulee. And because you and I had that very old St. Nick together, I didn't even want to use it. I got creme brulee, but I didn't even want to use it because we had that, and that was pure creme brulee.
Oh, that was a different beast and different level. Continuing on, palate-wise, I got banana runts, maybe even sweeter, just that banana sugary, that taste. I've got it in a few Brown-Forman things with various labels. Similar to John's nosing, I did get a bubble gum to it. Somewhere between the light pink Big League Chew. Maybe if folks remember it. I forget what it's called. Remember that gum came in like it's called like gum by the foot or something. Supposed to like a tape dispenser or a tape measure. And you just kind of pulled out the tab and you tore it off. Remember that gum? It was super light pink, super sweet. I mean, I think probably the same company all made the dang things and just put them in different labels and packaging. There was a slight singe at the back. Not off-putting by any means. If anything, almost kind of refreshing to remind you weren't just, drinking some form of sugar water, that there was a little alcohol in there, and hey, slow down a little bit there, buds. Moving onward, do you want me to continue for the Michters, John, or you need to volley the ball back over the net, as they say?
No, keep going.
All right, I'll continue to struggle with the ball.
You're not struggling.
I was trying to think, what do they call it in soccer? Oh, dribble. There you go. I'll just keep dribbling over here. Nose-wise for the Michters, it was a nice blend of caramel, and what I put down was almonds. It could have been a different nut probably, but just not like a sweeter peanut butter. And I don't know. Somewhere in there, it seemed more refined than the Cooper's, and also had a nougat point to it. And then I got a really good whiff, and I think I probably just put all those notes together into one. It was just simply a sundae. Vanilla ice cream, chocolate syrup on top, a caramel swirl mixed in with it, and some chopped nuts on top of that. That really encompassed the entire nose for me. Palate-wise, a medium brown toasted marshmallow. I don't know, probably being overly picky, but slightly more depth than the Cooper's had. Again, a nice nutty profile to it. And this one didn't necessarily have a singe at the back. It did have some oak, which I thought probably showed a little more age. But it was very light, not off-putting, mundane, and just enough there to say, hey, we let this thing age for a little while at least.
Hubba Bubble Bubble Tape. Or Hubba Bubba Bubble Tape.
Say that 4 times fast.
Hubba Bubba Bubble Tape. Hubba Bubba Bubble Tape. Hubba Bubba Bubble Tape. Hubba Bubba Bubble Tape.
Sounds like Missy Elliott's missing song.
It's your to win yet. I put the thing down, flipped it, and reversed it. That's a lot to do at one time.
And somehow when you reversed it, it still came out the same.
Are you ready for me?
It could almost be a little I'm a bee, too.
Somewhere. I'm a bee.
Yeah, somewhere in the mix of that.
Yeah. So for this one, for me, I got sweetness is there, but it's darker than the Cooper's Craft. Not as bubblegummy. And I got sweet caramel. Ba, ba, ba. For the taste on this one, I got darker, oakier, toastier, and creamier. It's almost like Daft Punk's Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. And then the finish, I said it lingers, chews. It was a little bit more smack your lips than that Cooper's Craft was. It's amazing how much that 10 proof, 5 ABV really makes a difference. And the finish on that one, I think, lingered a little bit longer. Knowing that we're going to be talking about the Old Forester too, and not going on a tangent on this for too long, I think it's worth the 20 extra retail dollars. I don't think it's worth $130 extra dollars for retail, from retail to secondary. So I think the Michter's Toasted definitely was better for me, but I don't think I would pay the secondary price for it opposed to the retail price for the Cooper's Craft.
No way. Same thoughts here. Literally, I mean, I wouldn't say that I would make Cooper's my go-to or a daily or even necessarily a must-have on the bar. But for the price point, if you're bored one day, I don't know what to buy, you're not going to walk away with your wallet busted, and I don't think you're going to walk away with anything you're not going to enjoy, really. Unless you just don't like the Brown-Forman line.
No, and what you said, too, is saying that something is good in an old-fashioned is not necessarily a bad thing. I think if you are a cocktail fan and you like a little bit of that oakier, toastier flavor to it, maybe with a little bit of creme brulee and banana, then Cooper's may be your go-to. I think...
Well, that if people come over and, you don't want to... Especially if they're not fans of bourbon, you don't want to pour something they're just going to waste or douse water all over, etc. I mean, I don't see many people not enjoying that. Even if they're scared of having neat bourbon, give them 82.8 proof and put a cube or two in there. They'll still probably get some flavor. None of it's going to be off-putting. And you're not going to feel bad if they don't like it because it was $25.
No, I mean, I think it's a solid bourbon for the price. I think it's priced accordingly. And, I appreciate that there is a toasted wood bourbon that is accessible right now that you can go find. I appreciate the fact that, Brown-Forman is kind of using that fact that they are their own cooperage and giving a little bit of homage to the fact that they are one of the only distilleries making their own barrels. So that is pretty cool too. So, all in all, I'd buy it. I would buy it I'd have a bottle. Like you, I don't think I would go to it every day, but I'd have a bottle. I have already bought a bottle of this and finished it, but I'd get another just to make sure I had one in the bar.
Yeah, man, I don't even know if I'd go that far, but like I say, it's definitely not a bad purchase. And if you have that moment when you're in the store and you want to have something you haven't had, you don't want to spend a ton of money, give this a whirl. If we're off point, certainly let us know. We always appreciate the feedback. But at this point, unless Michter's puts out another toasted bourbon, I think it would be very hard to recommend copying one at the secondary price point.
Do you think they will? I mean, I think enough people like the toasted bourbon that it would be in their best interest. I don't think it would come out at $50 now. I think you'd see it more at $75 to $80. But, I mean, you would think that they would put another one out.
I don't know why they wouldn't, and I think another interesting aspect they could pursue with it, since the rye was a cask strength, and they have, at least in Kentucky, only put out a cask strength bourbon now. Bring back the toasted finished bourbon, up your game to cask strength. Not that we would appreciate it, want it, or endorse it, but hey, look what's back that everybody wanted. Now it's cask strength. Oh yeah, guess what the price is? Womp, womp, womp.
I'd appreciate that the bourbon was back and hope that somebody would give me a pour. I probably wouldn't appreciate the price that it's coming out for.
Yeah, that would be the biggest remains to be seen factor.
And it's something that we'll probably talk about on another show, but it's almost like, the sadness that you get knowing that Kentucky Owl Rye is coming out for $200. And that's a conversation for a different day. And as much as we love Dixon, I did shed a little tear knowing that it was an extra $70 this year to get Kentucky Owl Rye.
Well, the only way to fight it is to leave it sitting on the shelf, which I did for the first one, so I will for the second.
I really liked that rye, though. It was good.
Except for when you had it blind.
Well, no, I didn't hate it. We said we liked all of those ryes that were there. I just liked that Willet 4-year better.
$45.
I know.
At least 4 of those.
So let's move on to the big snafu. And I'll explain this. I will take ownership for my mistake. So Zeke brought over 3 samples. And
I don't know. This is maybe better from my perspective since I got to see it in action.
Well, I'll tell it. I'll set it up. And then I'll set it up and then you knock them down. So Zeke brought over the 3 samples of Old Forester and he labeled the top by date. So he labeled the tops of his sample bottles 1870, 1897, and 1920. I poured his blinds, and I didn't put the caps back on the bottles when I did it. So I left 3 sample bottles sitting on the table for Zeke. I did not tell him which one was which. So his blinds are true. My blinds are not. We don't know what the hell was in my glass.
Oh, there's double blinds.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah, so I walk over here and obviously based on the first set of blinds I did, I don't do left, middle, right. I find some other random rhyme or reason to where I can remember what's, where. So I look at these glasses, I figure out what I'm going to do. Then I look at the samples. I even go to pour them. I'm like, oh, wait. John left all the lids sitting right here in a nice little pile. Well, we're not going to know what any of these are.
So for this one, what we're going to do is I'm going to run through the tail of the tape real quick. Zeke is going to give his guesses. I'll tell him if he's right. I will kind of talk about what I think mine were. We don't know if they were right or not, but I think there are some inferences you can make from these. But the original batch, 1870, is 90 proof, 45% ABV. It's not age stated, but we think it's 4 to 4.5 years. Mash is 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% malted barley. I will save you all some trouble. That is the same mash for all of these from Old Forester. And the price of this one is about $45. The Bottled in Bond 1897 is 100 proof naturally, 50% ABV. It is not age stated, but we know being bottled in bond that is at least 4 years. The MSRP for this is $50. 1920, the Prohibition Blend is 115 proof, 57.5 ABV. It is non-age stated, said to be 6 years, and the MSRP for this is $60. So Zeke, what were your guesses on this one?
My guesses were that the left was the Bottled in Bond, the middle was the 1870, and the right was the 1920. The Bottled in the Bond in the 1870, I hemmed and hawed some on, but I feel more confident on the right being 1920 at least.
You were doing so well.
I know.
I went descending order of age. So the left is 1920, middle is 1897, and the right is 1870.
Really?
Yep.
Jesus.
I know. Makes you rethink how you drink. What? So give me your tasting notes on these, and let's try to figure out deductive reasoning what happened.
Far left, at first the nose honestly was missing in action. Circling back around to it, it showed what I thought was like a banana strawberry blend yogurt parfait, something, who knows. Or like taking a banana and strawberry starburst, putting one of each in the mouth, going to town. Palate wise, it was vanilla into banana, very sweet sugars behind kind of like that bubblegum flavor we talked about earlier. It showed a fair warmth and some age, but neither were overwhelming or off-putting. For what I thought was 1870, very faint banana smell, almost if you've eaten fried plantains at a Jamaican restaurant, etc. You pick up the banana smell, but there's other stuff on the plate, other things going on. And to that, just a lack of vibrancy is what I put down. Palate-wise, this one really showed corn. I don't know. Corn hit me more on this one than anything, and I thought it just really showed its youth, and in that also a diminished tasting profile.
Which one was that one, the right?
That was the middle.
The middle. So that was, well, and when you were saying that to me while we were tasting these and I didn't give anything away to you, I was thinking to myself, well, that's the Bottled in Bond, so that's the one that we only know is 4 years.
Well, at least 4. I mean,
yeah, it could be more, but we think
Old Fitz has got an 11-year Bottled in Bond.
They do. They also have a 4-year.
Either way, for number right, which I thought was 1920, I thought the nose smelled like drunk bananas, i.e. 115 proof, highest proof of the batch. That was my rationale there. Also on the palate, it showed more heat and oak. It wasn't overwhelming and had similar profiles to everything discussed previously, but more heat and oak were there. And that was my rationale.
Was there anyone that you liked out of these more than the others?
Other than the corn, the other two I liked. Corn, it's not my thing. I thought both of the two were enjoyable pours.
Interesting, though, that the Bottled in Bond was not your favorite. Now, when we did the Bottled in Bond challenge that we'll probably have to revisit at some point, I don't believe the Old Forester made it as far as some of the other ones did. Now, for me on these, it doesn't really matter. I thought number 1 for me was Bottled in Bond. I got a little bit more oak than the other on these, but as you're kind of tasting corn, I think that's wrong, right? No, the second one I said was darker, spicier. I was pretty sure it was the 1920. I got a little slight banana on this. And then the last one I thought was original batch because it was a little thinner with some oak. But given your tasting notes on these, I'm just mentioning that for giggles, but I don't think any of it's right.
Yeah, I'm baffled by this, honestly. I mean, these were all open bottles that had been open for, at least a little bit. None were fresh cracks, but...
Are you saying we're going to have to do this again with fresh cracks?
Not necessarily fresh cracks, just somebody that doesn't...
mess up their own blind?
Crack the blinding, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the safe thing to say, though, is that out of these, we...
Also, is 1870 a lower proof than bottled and bond?
Yes. It's 90 proof.
Very strange and off-putting all around.
Yeah. The safest thing to say to kind of close that out is that you can't go wrong with 1920. I mean, I think that's kind of everybody's verdict on that, and I think it rings true now even that the one that we always kind of agree on is that 1920 out of the Whiskey Row series.
Yeah, and even though it is a higher price point,
it's $5.
Well, also, it's a higher proof. So if you don't like high proofers, you can still buy that one, add a few drops, add a cube, whatever you want to do to it. Then you're getting more bang for your buck.
Yeah, we don't care how you drink it as long as you like it.
So, I mean, in regards to that, or, if you're mixing it with other things, you're going to have a less alcohol content once you put in ice mixers, etc. That's still going to, put off the most flavor to add that component to what you're doing. So, I don't see a problem with 1920 by any means.
I think it's pretty safe to say, like I said, we agree on the 1920. That's my verdict on this. Sorry I messed up the blind. We also want to make sure before we close out, we thank everybody who was a part of our Father's Day contest. Thank you for taking the time to post the pictures. Say something about Dad's Drinking Bourbon. We really appreciate it. Please keep listening. Please go ahead and find us on your favorite podcast provider. Write us a review. Don't just put 5 stars in there. Please write us a review because people will look at that as they're trying to find a podcast to listen to and they want to know what you like about us. You could also find us on Twitter at Bourbon Dads, find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, and find us on Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
Always most times in Nashville, Tennessee, and to the note of the Father's Day contest, since this will be, after the fact. I really hope somebody or bodies has a significant other that's playful enough to also take a picture of the person taking the picture and or the best John Edwards-esque pose as he's trying to snap the perfect picture of a glass, pour, bottle, etc. and what the rest of the world sees thinking, what is he doing?
I hope somebody posts a lot of pictures of ETL for you. A picture of Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Glencairn with an ETL.
Only if they show a drain behind it.
So are you saying that eventually we should do a contest that people should do their best impressions of us and get a picture taken of them doing their best Zeke or John?
I'm just saying, John, I've seen you trying to snap these pictures and the work you go into on these things. I would love to see, the lens, quote unquote, of a significant other or an innocent bystander of what is he doing?
Well, I hope the people appreciate it. That being said, I think we have what our next contest is going to be. So at some point, we will do something where we do our best, where we ask people to do an impression of us.
It's going to end very badly.
I know it will, but we have thick skin. Anyways, you guys have a great night. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks again, and one day we'll try to botch something up.
Ciao.
Hey, that's mine.